What are we looking for in spring training? Are the Mariners done adding this offseason? And is Aaron Goldsmith actually going to St. Louis? All that and more coming up here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Monday, January 23rd, 2023. This is Trident Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, brought to you by FanDuel, the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started today. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Subscribe, like, and turn on alerts if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform if you like what you hear. And if you want to hear from us even more, please consider signing up for our Patreon. The link as well as our social accounts is in the description below. It is Mailbag Monday today. We got some questions from you guys on Twitter, so we're going to answer those and have a chill little show. But before we get into all of that, a reminder, we're giving away a $50 Mariners gift card to one lucky listener. And if you win, but you're outside the state of Washington, you'll instead receive a $50 MLB Shop or Fanatics gift card. All you have to do to enter is subscribe to our YouTube channel. So if you already have, you're already in. The deadline to enter is tomorrow, January 24th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific. We will then select the winner from our YouTube subscriber list and announce it on Wednesday's show, which we got a little something extra special happening on Wednesday's show. So that's going to be a fun show for you guys. All right, let's get into these questions, starting with Jace. Jace wants to know, what are the biggest storylines / things to watch for in spring training? What players are you most excited to watch? Colby, I'll start with you.
Nothing. It's all pointless. Nothing means anything. So, you know,
Yeah.
I had a great
Colby
weekend.
has arrived.
I had a great weekend, by the way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How was your week? First question of the day. How was your weekend, pal? You want to talk about it? Air things out?
No, it was fine. It was fine. So most important, I think, you know, kind of the guy that we're going to watch most closely is probably Jared Kelenic. You know, we talked about this a lot, and if Kelenic is, you know, good, that helps the Mariners more than any other like potential player jump, right? Because Kelenic being good would not just be, you know, going from okay to good. It would be going from non-major leaguer to quality major leaguer, and we know what his upside is. So I think, you know, that's kind of the guy that I'm going to be paying the most attention to over the course of the spring. Also Taylor Trammell. You kind of really need one of those guys to step up and you know, take that left field job. So I think mostly it's that, and then obviously, you know, at spring training, you're kind of looking at the young guys. You're looking to see what you get from Bryce Miller and Emerson Hancock, see if there's any noticeable difference in their stuff. And you know, there's going to be a handful of guys trying to make the team, trying to fight their way onto the playoffs or the roster, like Cade Marlowe, who was, you know, on the taxi squad for the playoffs last year, and we know how much they seem to like him, among others. So yeah, for me, it's the two young guys who are talented but haven't really broken out yet. It's Jared Kelenic and Taylor Trammell are kind of the guys that I'm going to be focusing on, and they should get a lot of opportunities because it does sound like, you know, 25% of the Mariners 40-man roster is off to the World Baseball Classic for at least a couple days. So we'll see how it goes.
Right. So a lot of these guys are going to get some opportunities here to make the back end of the Mariners roster. There aren't a lot of position battles on this roster heading into spring training. Most of these spots are already locked in, more or less. I mean, there's obviously the big one in left field, like you mentioned, with Kelenic and Trammell and Marlowe, and I'm really interested to see that. And I think that, you know, Marlowe's especially a guy that's going to benefit from guys heading to the World Baseball Classic, so he'll get plenty of opportunity to show what he can do. There might only be one spot up for grabs in the Mariners bullpen, maybe two, but if guys like Matt Festa and Penn Murphy are already more or less penciled in, then that it's essentially going to be one spot up for grabs for guys like Justin Topa and Trevor Gott, etc. So we'll see how that plays out. And then, you know, finally, you know, the number 5 spot in the rotation, that competition is going to be really interesting, because does whoever loses that competition go to the bullpen, or do they end up getting traded, and which one of those guys ends up actually making it into the rotation? Or is there someone else that could sneak into that competition like a Bryce Miller? Because like you said, if he comes into spring showing something that we haven't seen before and he looks pretty advanced, maybe that's someone that the Mariners actually consider there. So there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff going on in spring, even though that, again, there aren't a lot of spots up for grabs, but there's still some really interesting storylines. And then, you know, like you said, right, seeing some of the young guys, seeing them actually play before our eyes. Hopefully we get some games on TV this year. You know, more games than usual. Do we know what the TV schedule is like this year? No?
Not yet.
Yeah, so hopefully we get more than like 8 games shown on TV this time around, which, I mean, if you have MLB TV, you might, you know, get access to a few more than that, but yeah, would like to get, you know, every and all opportunities to watch this
How
team.
could we see rock climbing unlimited in Western Europe if
Fly
they
fishing?
show that Seattle Mariners spring training game?
Fly fishing?
Oh God.
I mean, now they have like a legitimate excuse with the Kraken on some nights.
The Kraken play at night. The spring training games are at noon.
Yeah.
Not good enough.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Let's see what Austin has to ask here. Austin asks, does Jerry and company have another trade up his sleeves for an everyday bat, or do you think this is it minus non-roster invitees? So we talked a little bit about this during the emergency podcast for the Listella signing. So Colby, are you still pretty firm on your stance that you think Listella was more so a glorified NRI than anything, and that the Mariners are still not done?
Yeah, I don't think Jerry's ever actually done. You know, the free agent market right now is pretty thin. So yeah, it's probably going to have to come via trade. There's still a bat short, an everyday bat short. It doesn't really matter where the bat can play as long as it's somewhere other than first base. I think that's really the only other important thing is if you can get a 115 WRC plus guy and he's, you know, left and right field only, that's still valuable to you. But if it's just, you know, first base DH only, you're just creating, you know, kind of a logjam. So,
Sure.
Yeah, I still think there's one more bat coming. I don't think we're going to see any significant relievers signed. But you know, we are getting to that point where guys are going to just start taking 1-year deals and their demands are going to go down just to get, you know, into camp. Cause you know, pitchers and catchers report in about 3 weeks. So, we are going to see guys, you know, start to lower their asking price. I don't really think that's going to affect Jerry all that much. I think he's going to go the trade route, but I do think he's going to add, at least one more bat before opening day. I don't know about before, you know, first full squad workout, but they're still a bat short, and I think Jerry knows that.
Yeah, so maybe someone like David Peralta, maybe someone like Jurickson Profar, or maybe someone on the trade market like a Max Kepler. I'm sure they're still keeping their ear to the ground on, you know, Brian Reynolds, Tyler O'Neill, in case anything changes on that front. But yeah, you know, something to ask Jerry potentially on Wednesday to see if they're done or not, because I don't think we've actually heard from Jerry about the Listella signing outside of his little comment in the press release, right? So,
Nope.
We'll probably ask him about Listella, what he likes about Listella, and if that's essentially it for them in his eyes or not. All right. One more question here before we talk about FanDuel. This one comes from Josh. Do you think Matt Brash will be allowed to compete for the 5th starting spot in spring training, or is he locked in for good as a valuable reliever now? So Jerry DiPoto already came out and said that because Brash is pitching in the World Baseball Classic for Team Canada, they are no longer going with their original plan of ramping him up as a starter this offseason. He's going to stay a reliever, and he's going to pitch out of the Mariners bullpen in 2023. So, yeah.
Yep.
Anything you want to add on that, Colby?
Nope.
Just about him as a reliever? Okay. Yeah.
It's already been decided.
Yeah. All right. All right, well, more questions coming up here in just a moment, but real quick, a reminder, this episode of Locked On Mariners is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are here, and we're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On. Because, well, here, actually, I got to throw up this little overlay here. But FanDuel is the #1 sports book in America, and if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. New customers join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at fanduel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance to win a bigger payout with a same game parlay, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So, football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at fanduel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen. All right, let's get back into these questions here on Mailbag Monday. This one comes from Cliff, who asks, who do you think is the biggest departure from last year's Mariners team? So, Colby, I think there's a couple of options here. I don't think we're going to be getting into the Carlos Santana, Adam Frazier territory, but I think it's really between two guys, right? Eric Swanson, Mitch Haniger.
I guess technically, but for me, the answer is pretty obviously Swanson. I mean, Haniger wasn't good for you last year, and he missed 100 games. And you've already replaced him with a better model, to be quite honest, with Teoscar Hernandez. So, yeah, I mean, Swanson was much more valuable to you last year than Haniger. If Haniger was healthy last year, then it would easily be him. But also, if he was healthy last year, I think he probably would be here. So, it's just, to me, it's Swanson, because Haniger really didn't help you all that much. He had a couple big hits here and there, but he was really bad, honestly, for down the stretch. He was just bad. And he missed, close to 100 games, maybe more than 100. So it's kind of tough for me to pick him based off of what we saw last year. So I have to say Swanson.
Yeah, it has to be Swanson, right? Because, unlike with Haniger, you didn't necessarily get a replacement for Swanson, at least one that's obvious to us, right? Maybe they turned Justin Topa or Trevor Gott or whatever into, what Eric Swanson was last year. Who knows? But yeah, you don't have a replacement for him. I mean, you didn't go out and add another high leverage reliever. You didn't fill that role that Swanson essentially filled last year. Maybe that's Penn Murphy this year. Maybe that's Matt Festa this year. Maybe that's Trevor Gott. Maybe that's Justin Topa. Who knows? But yeah, there isn't that guy that's just obviously there. So I would have to go with Swanson here as well, because every other position that you lost a player from, you replace. Maybe not necessarily Jesse Winker, but I think you're going to be in a better spot than having, than what Winker gave you last year. So yeah. It's Swanson to me. I think that's pretty clear. Like, I could see why maybe someone would say Mitch Haniger, but still, like Colby said, he didn't do a whole lot for you this past year, and you got a really good replacement. So, all right, next question comes from CNC Talks. What are your thoughts on Aaron Goldsmith leaving? Also, who are some potential replacements? I assume Sims will take over full-time on TV. So, Colby, I don't know how much you want to get into this, but I would say that we should all pump the brakes on Aaron Goldsmith going to St. Louis right now. I know there's some reports out there that allude to him being a finalist or a front runner for that job, which would be a dream job for Goldsmith, but I've heard some things that contradict that. So how do you feel, Colby?
Yeah, I think the idea that it may have been a dream job for Goldsmith at one point is accurate. He came up, he's not exactly from the area. I think he's from Ohio, but it's the St. Louis Cardinals. It's a huge job. It's a great team, great fan base and all that stuff. It's one of the blue bloods of Major League Baseball. And obviously I think the Mariners plucked him from that system, for lack of a better term, when he was calling their AA games. So I think the idea that it was his dream job is pretty accurate. I've been hearing that is overblown, that it's not, like he wants to be in Seattle. But obviously there comes a point where monetarily it'd be a bad decision to leave Seattle. So my understanding is, and I can't divulge everything, is that the Cardinals really want Aaron Goldsmith, and Goldsmith has, talked to them, but that it's not as obvious as some people on Twitter are making it, that he's just gone. So overall, I'm honestly, I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, it would be a bummer if he did leave, but based on what I'm hearing, it seems a little unlikely right
Yeah.
now. I just leave it at that.
And if you know where to look online, you'll also hear these things. So that's not really something that we're hearing specifically, but yeah, there are some murmurs around the Mariners right now that say that this is a bit overblown.
Right, and again, consider the source of the people saying that, like, he's a finalist and, oh, it's actually more than a final. Like, these aren't connected people. They don't know Aaron Goldsmith at all. They're kind of guessing at this stage. So again, whatever Aaron decides to do, you kind of have to support him. He's been great here in Seattle. I would love for him to be kind of the voice of what is shaping up to be the golden era of Mariners baseball.
No
But
pun
ultimately,
intended.
he's got to. What's that?
Pun intended or no pun intended?
No pun
the
intended.
golden era, yeah.
No pun intended. But I'd love for that to be him. But ultimately, he's got to do what's best for him and his family. And I got to respect the decision either way. He's been great here.
It would be a gut punch, though.
It would be a huge bummer. But I'm feeling. I'll just say I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah.
So
am I.
Yeah. And as for who they would get to replace him, I don't know. We didn't know who Aaron Goldsmith was when the Mariners brought him in the first time. So
I think essentially what you would see is just Sims goes full-time TV, and then Gary Hill and Rick Riz just man the radio side of things full-time.
Right. And that wouldn't be a huge like Goldsmith doesn't do every TV game. Right. And so obviously I think they'd bring in one more guy, but I think you just get Gary a little more involved. I think maybe, you don't have to do it this year. Maybe you get Gary a little more involved. Maybe you get Angie on the broadcast a little bit more. I think you just kind of figure it out and you kind of don't rush it and just go get the best person you can for the job.
That's a great point. I think this would be a great opportunity to get Angie more involved. I think this would also be a great opportunity to get Shannon Dreyer more involved, at least on the radio side of things. I think that would be really
right.
Cool
And we know that they'd cycle through like Ryan Rowland Smith and
sure.
Bill Kruger, but
maybe Stephen Vogt
shake your fist at those clouds.
Maybe Stephen Vogt will rethink his coaching position and actually take that Root Sports job.
Sure. Seems unlikely, but the one thing that Seattle sports in general has gotten really right, is their play-by-play
across
guys.
The board.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what sports. Somehow they find a way to get that right. So
from Calabro to Rabel to Niehaus to Goldsmith to Forsland now.
Riz,
Yeah.
It's been home run after home run. So we'll see what happens. But honestly, I'm feeling pretty good about Aaron being back next year. But we'll see. Like I said, ultimately it's his decision. And as sad as I would be if he left, I would have to respect the decision and wish him well.
All right, we got a couple more questions here. This one comes from Zane. Have you heard anything about Herman Marquez coming to Seattle? Last offseason, he was a buzzworthy trade target. What would it cost to get him? Is it worth it? Well, Colby, I put this one specifically in for you because you got some strong feelings about Herman Marquez, so please share.
Why would you trade top-level prospects, which is what the Rockies are going to ask for Chris Flexen? They're the same pitcher. Herman Marquez is Chris Flexen. They're both number 4, number 5s. Marquez had a nice year, and he kind of like, oh, well, you get him out of Colorado, he'll be better. No, that doesn't work like that. Herman Marquez for the last couple of years has been like a number 5 starter. He runs mid-4 ERAs. His FIPs aren't great. He doesn't strike out a ton of guys. Like, Marquez is fine. He's okay. But would you rather have Flexen and Miller and Hancock, or would you rather have Marquez? It's a no-brainer. Marquez isn't very good. He's the most overrated pitcher in baseball. He's not good. He's a number 5. Who cares? I'd rather throw Marco Gonzalez out there and keep my prospects than give up anything of value for Herman Marquez. The guy sucks. He's not good.
4.95 ERA this past year. 4.71.
Oh my God! That's so worth Bryce Miller. I have to give up Bryce Miller for that guy.
The only thing that he has really working for him is he's stayed healthy for the most part. He's thrown 180 plus innings for 3 out of the last 5 years.
Are you describing Marco Gonzalez or Herman Marquez? Because I can't differentiate between those two.
I can't either. I let me recheck the Fangraphs page. Yeah, that's Herman Marquez. Yeah. I wouldn't be able to tell just looking at the numbers though.
I would rather give Michael Wacha $30 million for 1 year than trade a single prospect for Herman Marquez.
All right.
Let's bend over backwards to get a mid number 5 starter. Not even a mid rotation starter, just a mid number 5 starter.
Herman Midquez.
Yeah, no, pass. Hey, remember when Rocky fans were like, "Oh, you got to give up Julio. You got to give something to get something."
Oh man,
Yeah,
that was a
bite
time.
me, Rocky fans, morons.
That was a time to be alive.
Yeah, Herman Marquez, he's not good. He's not. He's just
not.
a dude.
If they're like willing to value him at a more realistic price, then I'm kind of interested. See what you can get out of him outside of cores. But no, not for.
I would be upset if
not
they
for
traded,
any top 10 prospect.
I would be upset if they traded Isaiah Campbell for Herman Marquez. Marquez is a number 5. Period. You keep going back. Oh well, look at what he did in 2019. I don't care. I don't care.
I'd probably trade Isaiah Campbell.
He's not that good. He's just
trade.
a dude. He's
I'd
just a dude who's getting
Isaiah
paid. Who cares? You know who else is a dude who's getting paid? Literally Marco Gonzalez. There's no difference.
Chris Flexen's getting paid this year.
Who cares?
They're getting paid.
If you want to swap Marco for Marquez, fine.
Hey, the Rockies were reportedly interested in Chris Flexen earlier this offseason. Chris Flexen for Herman Marquez, who is essentially he's under 2 years of club control.
For how much money?
Question mark.
For how much money?
I don't know. I'm on Fangraphs. They have him at 8.6 million AAV this year. I don't know what the club option is here. Let me go on Spot Track real quick if I can vamp long enough.
Well, you already failed.
Yeah, I already failed.
Marquez isn't that good, guys. He's a name.
Marquez is at oh wow, Fangraphs is wrong about his AAV this year. He's making $15 million this year. Then the club option is $16 million. There's a non-zero chance that club option gets declined and he hits the open market this offseason.
It's the Rockies, so they'll pick it up.
No,
because the Rockies are more interested
in
keeping their guys and being good.
They'll be like, hey, you know what? Actually, let's throw another $14 million on top of that. Yeah, here you go.
Why not? The Rockies are a team that is so desperate to keep their own guys that they don't even care about being good.
Which is the Rockies weird too, right? Because they traded Nolan Arenado and then they just let Trevor Story go for nothing. So,
but we got to overpay for Ryan McMahon. Oh, we have to keep Antonio Senzatella. Oh, we can't dare trade Herman Marquez. Oh no! Why would we trade a number 5 starter? No, we got to keep these guys in town. But our generational first ballot Hall of Fame third baseman, we can get rid of him.
It's so weird.
We really need that number 4 starter for him.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like the way that they like pick and choose is so strange. They pick the wrong guys to hitch their wagon to. It's really weird.
You know what? I'll just say the Colorado Rockies are a poverty franchise.
I mean,
they're terrible.
It's true.
They're terrible. Yeah. They have no idea what they're doing. Morons run that baseball team.
I love how this turned into just a
Rockies
trash fest.
Well, I didn't want a 20-minute podcast, and we're burning through these questions pretty fast. But also, any chance to take a shot at the Rockies or the Marlins or any of these other trash franchises, I'm going to take because they're bad for baseball. Oh, they gave Chris Bryant $180 million. I'd rather win. Jesus Christ.
And a full no trade clause.
Of course. Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. God forbid you hitch your wagon anymore to Chris Bryant and his linguini shoulder. Oh, good. Good God. Thank God they did that.
Imagine trading for Nolan Arenado.
How did Nolan Arenado do last year? Was he any good? Is he still like an MVP candidate?
Imagine trading him for what they got and then giving a ton of money to Chris Bryant like a year later. That's incredible.
Like, they got like a number 5 starter and like a decent prospect. They got Gomer and the outfield prospect.
They got a bunch of bulk. They made an Oakland A's type of deal.
They traded a Hall of Fame third baseman who's still in his prime for bulk. And some of you guys have the nerve to say that the Mariners are poorly run.
The Cardinals too, who have like a really good farm system and did even at the time of the trade.
So much more.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
God.
Insane. All right.
Poverty
Enough
franchise.
enough about the Rockies. This is the Locked On Mariners podcast. Let's go to this last question here from John, who has a question that has nothing to do with the Mariners. So we're sticking true to the theme here. It's a very simple question. High socks, stirrups, or regular pants? All right. Aesthetically or for us personally?
These are really the best questions you could pull out, huh?
Yes.
This
is the last
okay,
question. This is the
I'm
last
giving you like
question.
a 35 grade on question picking today.
Most of the questions were just like the same question that we answered today. Stuff about Goldsmith, stuff about the off season. Sorry,
okay,
maybe instead of attacking me here, maybe you should challenge the people that are asking said questions.
I think our listeners do a fantastic job.
Fine, I will. All right, but you guys better remember that I'm taking your arrows. I am the Jerry DePoto to your Kevin Mather, folks.
Oh man, this show is gonna bomb. Anyways, what's the
it's
question?
Gonna be so good. Colby, this is a good question.
How do you wear your pants?
This is a good question. High socks, stirrups, or regular pants?
All right, let's start here. The regular pants with the elastic that don't go like past the ankle. That looks like a 7-year-old little leaguer. Stop wearing those. You're a professional baseball player. Either take the elastic out or roll those suckers up where they belong. Don't Matt Chapman it. It's my least favorite thing about Teoscar Hernandez. The only thing I don't like about him. Wear normal pants, man. Either they go down around your ankle and they sit on top of your shoe, or you roll those suckers up. And I don't care if it's stirrups or the long socks. I don't really care. Just pick one. None of this like wearing capris when you're in the batter's box. No, pick one. They're either up around your knee or they're down on top of your shoe. Those are the options. I don't care which one you pick either, but that's it. Anything else, you look like a toddler. Grow up.
Of course,
that goes for Teo. That goes for Chapman and any other moron who wears them like that.
Of course, you would find something to rant about out of this question. This is such a simple question.
It's such a bad look.
All right.
It looks like you couldn't find pants that fit you.
Stirrups are the correct answer here. Stirrups are the most aesthetically pleasing. No,
they're overrated.
You're overrated. You're overrated.
No,
high socks.
I am underrated.
Well, it depends on the high socks too, right? Like if it's the striped socks like the Mariners wear, I like those. Those are dope. Striped socks.
The striped socks. You mean on the Sunday, the alternates?
They also wear them for the regular unis. They're like it's like
you're talking about with the rings base. Around the top.
Yeah, the rings around the top. Yeah. So like I think those look cool.
Yeah.
Regular like here's the thing for me, I'm only wearing regular pants if they're tapered. I can't do baggy personally. It's just not a good look for me. It's a good look on some people. Like Felix can rock that. Like Felix looks good in some baggy pants, but no, not me. I can't do it. So I got to get them tapered. But I'm probably rocking high socks or stirrups.
Ty's the guy who used to, well, first of all, Ty never really played baseball, but he's the guy who used to rubber band his ankles, like the ankles of his pants to his ankle because he didn't like the flare. So I might trip on him while I run. No, you're just an idiot. Yeah. Take the elastic out of the bottom. Stop looking like a dang little leaguer. You're a professional. You can afford pants.
Wait, does Teoscar
or you can afford the
do
socks. Yes. Teoscar wears them like this high above his ankle, right?
And
he wears like the socks with like the stripe that goes up, like the white sock with the stripe. And they're not stirrups. They're like stitched in stirrups, so that like there's just a red line.
I'm looking at a picture of him right now, and they're just like sitting on his shoes.
Nope. I'm telling you, go look. Nope. Go watch some of the video from last year.
Oh, okay. I see now. Yeah.
And the hotter he got, the higher those high waters got.
Well, if it works, then who cares?
I do.
If it works.
It's so ugly.
You must be good, but you have to be aesthetically pleasing too.
Yeah, that's always been a rule. Where have you been? Are you new to this podcast?
Who, all right. Let me add an additional question here from one at Dane Gonzalez on Twitter. Who has the best swag on the Mariners in terms of equipment, how they rock their jersey, etc.?
That's an idiotic question.
An idiotic?
At Dane Gonzalez guy must be a moron. It's Julio. It's not close. I mean, that's not a question.
Yeah, especially when he's got like the shine blockers on, Yeah, that's pretty tight. That's a good.
Plus, he wears the high socks, but not the stirrups. Like
Ty France too with the unbuttoned jersey.
No.
Like no. Why?
Ty France is just like generic
Got
major
the
leaguer.
got the arm sleeve, got like an armband on the other
No,
side. No,
no.
come on.
That's like
Come
generic.
on.
That's like Ty France is like what a 12-year-old puts in like his create a player on MLB The Show. Just like he's got on the
What about
the
JP?
fight
JP's
necklace and the
what
glasses
about
here and
JP?
on the back of the hat.
What about JP? JP's obviously
Yeah,
got the
'cause
dreads
JP's
and he's got like the compression sleeve, and then he like lets the he showcases the tats on the other arm. I think that's a good look.
It works for
Yeah.
JP.
Yeah.
Yeah, and JP also rocks the pants down on top of his shoes, or he'll wear the high socks
Yep.
on
Yep.
Sunday sometime. But
Yep.
typically, yeah, JP pulls it off. Of course he does.
Yeah.
Ty France does not. Ty France is just like he's like what every 12-year-old goes to Little League who's trying to be like, look at
that's
me,
underrated.
I'm so cool.
Nah.
Top button unbuttoned. I got my sleeve here. I got my elbow guard, even though I'm 8 and these guys are throwing 55 miles an hour. I'm wearing my fighting necklace, maybe 2 of them. Glasses here and on the back of the hat because you can never have enough.
Yeah.
Eye
Can never have enough
black.
glasses. Yeah.
I got my cross necklace just
gloves
flying out of
in
my
the back
shirt.
pocket, even though that I'm already wearing some. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just like the biggest wad of like big league chew I can possibly fit in my mouth. Like, oh yeah, kid, you're going 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts,
All right.
but you look good.
Last question on baseball aesthetics: seeds or gum, or neither?
Seeds.
Seeds. What flavor seeds?
Yeah. Original. You don't need any of that fancy like nacho cheese or dill
barbecue?
pickle. No dill picklers. No. Definitely no barbecue. Yuck. Gross.
All right, let us know below if
why
any
are
of
you
are
trying
still
to
watching at this
reinvent something
point.
that's already perfect? There's
There's
nothing
probably only
wrong.
like 2 of you watching at this point, but if you're still here, let us know below. Seeds or gum? What's your favorite flavor of seeds if you pick seeds? What's your favorite flavor of gum if you pick gum? Let us know about the high socks. Let us know about all of that. We want to hear from you. Tell us. Share with us.
Let us
And
know.
Colby will
how
probably
big of a-
shame you.
Let us know how big of a tool you looked like when you played high school baseball. Because I think it's a phase everybody goes through. But it doesn't work. It doesn't make you better. It really doesn't. Look at me. I'm wearing 1 compression sleeve on my throwing arm and nothing on my glove arm. Oh. But don't worry, because I have that fight necklace. Remember those things?
Yep.
And the gold cross.
Do you have a Live Strong bracelet on?
Batting gloves in your back pocket, but also
on your hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Did any kid
I
that
got
you
my
ever
base
played
running
with,
batting gloves and I got my batting gloves.
when you played, were there any kids that tried to do the Nomar? Like always like
No.
undo the gloves, redo the gloves, like every like between every pitch?
No.
I had a couple of kids like that when I played. Always tried to do the Nomar.
No. Every once in a while you'd catch somebody like doing like an Ortiz. They spit in their hand and then clap, and it's like, dude, like to me that was just a dead giveaway. Like you're going 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Like just get in the box, man, and hit. Just jeez Louise.
All right. Well,
when you get paid to play this game, you can do whatever you want with your batting gloves and however you want to swag it up, fine. But until then, you're just some kid named Tom or Gage. Just get in the box and hit.
Gage is a good one. Yeah.
Graydon. Okay, Bryce.
Or Grayson. Yeah. Yeah. Bryce. Yeah. Bryce is a good one. Yeah. Yeah. Brady.
Upper middle class kid who's got hitting lessons.
Yeah.
You're still like 85 pounds and you can't swing that 32-ounce bat no matter what your instructor says. So just go up there and go 0 for 3 already so we can get this over with and get to the kids who want to be good at baseball, not look good playing baseball. Anyways.
That's on a personal.
I mean, I've coached a lot of 13, 14-year-old kids.
Sure, yeah.
And yeah, obviously I've had my fair share of 5'3",
Brady's
95 pounds, swinging like a 32-30 bat, and it's like, dude, that bat's swinging you, man. But whatever.
It's true. Yeah, yeah. The kids in the oversized bats. Ugh. Go to Big 5. Get something that's more in line with your size.
Big 5.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think the show went a lot more like a CTZ episode than a Locked On episode, but hey, here we are.
That's your fault.
If you like this, subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/control zone. Hopefully we got a better show in store for you on Wednesday. because we're interviewing a certain somebody that may or may not run your favorite baseball team. So hopefully we're a little bit more on our P's and Q's than we were today. So that's going to do it for our show.
We got the Tommy trumpets going. We'll be on top of it.
Dun, 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 dun. And that's all I can do before YouTube demonetizes
Before we get
us.
demonetized.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Trident Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez. That's DANEGNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. And thank you again for making us your first listen. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB Prospects. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like us. And with that, have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Peace.